Sirens echo across the 10-Petal Ranch as Bula Jackson is airlifted to the hospital after collapsing during the anniversary celebration. The ranch hands stand frozen in shock while Everett watches helplessly as the helicopter disappears into the night sky. Nobody knows whether Beulah will survive. For the first time since arriving in Texas, Beth Dutton sees genuine fear in the eyes of the powerful Jackson family. The woman who controlled everything is suddenly gone. And that creates a vacuum. A dangerous one. Back at the ranch, Robwell wastes no time making his move. Only hours after Beulah is rushed to the hospital, he storms into the main house and begins acting as if he already owns the 10-Petal. Joaquin immediately challenges him. The brothers nearly come to blows. Robwell reminds everyone that Beulah publicly named him her successor before collapsing. Joaquin argues that the declaration was made under threat and manipulation. The argument quickly divides the ranch into two camps. Some believe Robwell is the rightful heir. Others believe he stole the ranch through intimidation. Meanwhile, Rip Wheeler watches quietly from the shadows. He says nothing, but he sees everything. And what he sees reminds him of another family war. Another ranch. Another fight over power. The same kind of conflict that destroyed lives back in Montana. Beth notices Rip's silence. She knows exactly what it means. He's preparing for something. Beth learns a disturbing secret. The following morning Beth visits Beulah in the hospital. Beulah remains unconscious. Doctors refuse to guarantee she'll recover. As Beth sits beside her hospital bed, Everett reveals a shocking truth. For years, Beulah suspected that criminal operations were taking place within the 10-Petal organization without her knowledge. Money had disappeared. Cattle records had been altered. Employees had vanished. Someone inside the ranch had been running illegal business through the operation. Everett believes Robwell is involved. Beth immediately realizes the implications. The ranch isn't just facing a succession crisis. It's facing a criminal conspiracy. And if Robwell gains control, everyone connected to the ranch could become a target. Including Rip. Including Carter. Including her. Carter hits rock bottom. Elsewhere, Carter struggles with the aftermath of the party. Orina's betrayal continues to haunt him. For weeks he believed she genuinely cared about him. Now he realizes she may have been using him all along. The heartbreak pushes Carter toward reckless decisions. Instead of attending school, he rides deep into the Texas backcountry alone. Hours later, Rip discovers Carter is missing. Beth immediately panics. She remembers all the mistakes she made when she was young. She fears Carter is heading down the same path. Rip mounts his horse and begins searching. What follows becomes one of the emotional highlights of the episode. Rip eventually finds Carter sitting alone near a dried creek bed. Neither speaks for several minutes. Finally Carter breaks down. He admits he's angry. Confused. Lost. He feels like nobody wants him. Rip listens carefully. Then he tells Carter something he rarely tells anyone. He talks about his own childhood. His own mistakes. His own loneliness. For the first time all season, Rip treats Carter not as a ranch hand but as a son. The conversation changes everything. Back at the 10-Petal Ranch, Robwell officially assumes control. His first act shocks everyone. He fires several longtime ranch workers who remained loyal to Joaquin. Then he orders armed security teams onto the property. The atmosphere changes overnight. The ranch no longer feels like a home. It feels like occupied territory. Joaquin realizes diplomacy is impossible. Robwell doesn't want peace. He wants domination. Soon rumors spread that Robwell has begun destroying records connected to Beulah's business dealings. Beth immediately suspects he's covering evidence. She sends Rip to investigate. Rip discovers trucks leaving the property in the middle of the night. Following them into the desert, he uncovers a hidden operation involving stolen livestock and illegal transport routes. The discovery confirms everyone's fears. Rob Will has been using the ranch for criminal activity. And now he's erasing every trace. The attack. Halfway through the episode, the conflict explodes. One of Joaquin's loyal workers is brutally attacked after refusing to support Rob Will. The message is clear. Choose a side. Or suffer the consequences. When Rip arrives at the scene, he sees blood on the ground and fear in every face around him. The ranch hands look to him for leadership. For protection. For action. Rip realizes something important. If nobody stops Rob Will now, innocent people will die. That night he gathers the remaining loyal cowboys. The scene mirrors classic Yellowstone moments. Everyone sits around a fire. Nobody speaks. Rip finally stands. His face is cold. Determined. Dangerous. He tells them the fight is no longer about property. It's about protecting the people who cannot protect themselves. The cowboys nod. The war has begun. Late in the episode, Beulah finally regains consciousness. The room falls silent. Everett immediately calls Beth. Within minutes Beth arrives at the hospital. Beulah appears weak. But her mind remains sharp. She reveals that she knew Rob Will would eventually come for the ranch. For years she hoped he would change. He never did. Then she delivers a bombshell revelation. Before collapsing, she secretly prepared documents that could invalidate Rob Will's claim to the ranch. The papers prove he obtained power through coercion. But there is a problem. The document, and Rob Will is already searching for them. If he finds them first, they disappear forever. Beth immediately knows what needs to happen. Someone must reach the ranch before Rob Will. Someone willing to do whatever it takes. Someone who doesn't lose. She calls Rip. Rip Wheeler declares war. The final 20 minutes become some of the most intense of the season. Rip returns to the ranch under cover of darkness. He meets with Joaquin. The two men agree on one thing. Rob Will cannot be allowed to remain in control. Together they organize a plan to recover Beulah's documents. But Rob Will is waiting. A violent confrontation erupts. Guns are drawn. Threats are exchanged. Years of family resentment explode into the open. At one point it appears somebody may actually pull the trigger. Then Rip steps forward. The entire ranch falls silent. He stares directly at Rob Will. Without raising his voice, he delivers the episode's most unforgettable line, "You picked a fight with the wrong family." Nobody moves. Nobody breathes. Rob Will smiles. But even he looks nervous. Because for the first time, Rip Wheeler isn't acting as an employee. He's acting as a Dutton. And everyone knows what happens when the Duttons go to war. Ending scene. The episode ends with Rip standing outside the ranch house. Beth arrives beside him. Together they look across the property. Lights burn in the distance. Armed guards patrol the fences. The ranch feels like a battlefield waiting for dawn. Beth asks one question. What's next? Rip never takes his eyes off the horizon. His answer sends chills down the spine. Tomorrow, we take it all back. The screen cuts to black. As dawn breaks over Texas, a heavy silence settles across the 10-petal ranch. The celebration that was supposed to mark a new beginning has turned into a nightmare. News of Beulah's collapse spreads quickly throughout the ranch, and fear begins to replace loyalty. Workers whisper among themselves. Families lock their doors earlier than usual. Everyone senses that something bigger is coming. The ranch has lost its leader. And whenever a kingdom loses its ruler, a battle for the throne follows. Beth Dutton spends the night at the hospital, refusing to leave Beulah's side. For all their differences, Beth understands exactly what Beulah built. She sees a woman who spent decades creating an empire and protecting generations of ranchers. Watching Beulah fight for her life reminds Beth of her own father and the sacrifices he made to preserve the Yellowstone. As she sits quietly beside the hospital bed, Beth notices a small notebook hidden beneath Beulah's pillow. Inside are handwritten notes. Names. Dates. Transactions. And several warnings. One name appears repeatedly throughout the pages. The notebook suggests that Beulah had been secretly investigating suspicious activity from back at the 10-petal. An unexpected visitor pulls through the gates. A black SUV rolls slowly toward the main house. The driver introduces himself as Marshal Wade Mercer, a federal investigator who has been tracking a multi-state livestock trafficking operation. He claims evidence points directly toward the ranch. Joaquin is stunned. Everett is furious. Neither understands how the family business became connected to federal investigations. But the timing seems too perfect. Almost as if someone wanted law enforcement to arrive while Beulah was unable to defend herself. Mercer reveals that several witnesses have named Rob Will as a key figure in the operation. Before he can say more, armed security guards ordered by Rob will force him off the property. The confrontation immediately raises suspicion. Why would an innocent man be afraid of an investigation? Rip discovers the truth. Meanwhile, Rip continues tracking the mysterious nighttime shipments he discovered earlier. What begins as a simple investigation soon turns into something much larger. Following a convoy through remote ranchland, Rip eventually finds an abandoned processing facility hidden deep in the Texas countryside. The building appears deserted. But inside, evidence is everywhere. Forged ownership documents. Unregistered livestock. Stacks of cash. Records connecting several criminal organizations. The operation is far bigger than anyone imagined. Most shocking of all, Rip finds documents proving that several attacks against rival ranchers were secretly funded by Rob Will. This wasn't merely a business dispute. It was organized warfare. Rip photographs everything. He knows the evidence could end Rob Will's reign forever. But before he can leave, headlights suddenly illuminate the building. Rob Will's men have arrived. A dangerous chase follows across open ranchland as Rip narrowly escapes. The discovery changes everything. The conflict is no longer about inheritance. It is now about exposing a criminal empire. Carter makes a dangerous choice. While the adults focus on the ranch war, Carter faces his own crisis. Still struggling with betrayal and loneliness, he becomes vulnerable to outside influence. A group of local troublemakers approaches him, promising easy money and excitement. For a brief moment, Carter considers walking away from the ranch altogether. The temptation is real. Life at the ranch has been filled with loss, uncertainty, and constant conflict. Maybe it would be easier to leave. But before he makes his decision, he remembers Rip's words from the previous night. Family isn't defined by blood. Family is defined by who stays when everything falls apart. The realization forces Carter to confront his fears. Instead of running away, he returns home. For the first time, he chooses the ranch. Beth strikes first. Beth understands something that everyone else has overlooked.